This video is sponsored by Incogni. Don't do that. Don't do that, okay? She's so cute, but I'm gonna have to kick her out. Okay, this is a video I've been sitting on for a while now, and I didn't want to release it until I had my thoughts mostly together on it. One of my all-time favorite watch YouTubers, Adrian Barker, once released a video titled, "What is Luxury? Tudor, Omega, Rolex." Nice keywords in that title. I'm totally stealing those keywords. But I've watched it, stewed on it, and I have some thoughts. I feel like I should say before we get into it, this is less of a response to Adrian's video and more of an overflow of thoughts it made me think afterwards. And that's what I loved so much about his video, is it made me think and ponder about something that I don't think about all that often, although I collect a lot of luxury watches. So thank you, Adrian, for making and releasing that video. I'm sure you got lots of pushback on the things you've said, and I'm sure I'll get lots of pushback on what I'm about to say as well. Now, the luxury side of watches, and just luxury in general, has always been a word that rubs me wrong. Chasing luxury and all the things that comes to mind when I think of this word, the lifestyle, I don't know, it all just feels so juvenile to me. I don't think that's the right word. But then I also have a watch collection filled with luxury watches. Watches I've spent far too much money on, so I kind of have to make my peace with this word. Some quick background on me, so you know where I'm coming from. I live and work in a pretty working class area of Bristol in the UK. I'm not on the posh side of town, and I don't want to be. This is where I fit. I'm from working class roots. My dad was a bylaw officer and a big union guy in Oshawa, Ontario. I say was, he hasn't passed away or anything. He just retired. And my mom does commercial insurance, also in Oshawa. I'm the first and only person in my family who has an undergrad. Well, actually, my cousin Paige has become a nurse. So she's more educated than me, but I am the second most educated person in my extended family. And I truthfully never thought I would leave Bowmanville, Ontario. Not many girls who come from where I come from have had the opportunities that I've had in life. I got into watch collecting through my husband. So for those of you who don't know, my husband is in the British Royal Navy. He's quite private about it, so I won't go any further than that, but we're a military family. And the watch world is really different than my world. I found it a big culture shock when I first started my watch Instagram page and being on YouTube on how much wealth is out there and people's attitude towards luxury and wealth. I think it's helpful to start with defining luxury. Luxury is a state of great comfort or elegance, especially when involving a great expense. That is the Oxford Dictionary definition, which is brief and kind of fuzzy and open to interpretation. Another definition from the Oxford English Dictionary is a thing that is desirable but not necessary. And once again, pretty vague and subjective. Do you guys want to know something else that isn't a luxury? Protecting yourself online against scammers, spam emails, and shockingly targeted advertising. And that's where today's fabulous video sponsor comes in, Incogni. Data breaches worldwide are on the rise. In fact, since 2021, the number of data breach victims has gone up 41.5%. So there's these people called data brokers, and they collect your data about you anywhere they can find it. Public records, the free apps you use, and they sell it to the highest bidder. We're talking about your name, home address, email, financial information, shopping habits, sold to scammers, businesses, banks, insurance companies. Blah. I really don't like it. Don't love it. We always seem to get really targeted advertising. Like I was recently looking at getting some Lego for my husband for Christmas. Side note, Lego is way too expensive. Luxury. It's a luxury item. But my phone is now spammed with Lego advertisements. But there is a way to stop this. You can request the data brokers to delete your information, and they have to comply. But they don't make it easy. It's a long, confusing, arduous process. And that's where Incogni comes in. It's quick and easy to get set up with them, and then their team will contact data brokers on your behalf to get your information removed from their databases. Once you create an Incogni account, you can just sit back, let their team handle it for you. They'll even handle any objections on your behalf. And it's their Black Friday event, so it's never been a better time to give them a try. The first 100 people to use the link in my description and code BRIT will get 60% off. And there's a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's no risk in giving them a try. It's awesome, I love Incogni, and thank you so much for sponsoring this video. Okay, now luxury. Back to luxury, get this on our minds again. I find most things not necessary, but they don't exactly radiate luxury. How many coffee mugs I have, completely disproportionately unnecessary, but they aren't luxury. Now what we have to untangle with watches is the lifestyle interpretation of luxury and the market understanding of what a luxury item is. For example, clothing is not a luxury item. Humans need clothing, especially if you live in a colder climate. But humans don't need Gucci. It's the same with watches. I'd even go as far as saying I'd consider owning a watch kind of a luxury. Whether it's a Seiko, Casio, Rolex, or Omega, they are, for most people, an unnecessary item. But there is a point where something becomes a luxury item. And this is where Adrian and I kind of start to disagree. I completely understand his point. I understand where he's coming from, but I'm not sure I quite agree. So for Adrian, in order for an item to be a luxury item boils down to the build quality, cost, and accessibility. And in this About Effing Time video, he made this amazing Venn diagram. And I think he's got it spot on with 2 out of the 3. I completely agree that an item is luxurious when it has a high cost and a high build quality. That would be my line of what is luxury. The only part I would kind of push back on is the accessibility. Accessibility, to me, doesn't make a high cost, high quality item any less luxurious. For example, one of my dream watches is the Patek Philippe 7200, the Ladies Calatrava. This is a time-only rose gold watch that retails for about £25,700. These are extremely expensive, beautifully made, but honestly, these are quite accessible. Authorized dealers are begging to get rid of these. I've expressed interest a couple times in the 7200, and I was having strap options thrown in, like 5 strap options as well. This wasn't like a small deal. They want to move these. And I was so close to buying one, I didn't end up pulling the trigger, and it's my dream to own one of these one day. But there is no way that someone could tell me that this is not a luxury item. This is a ridiculous item. No one on earth needs a £25,000 time-only watch, even if it is made from the most beautiful rose gold alloy and has a divine micro-rotor movement and the Patek Philippe seal. It's still a ridiculous item. The only reason it's kind of not accessible is because of the price point, but availability is extremely high-ish for a Patek Philippe. And for that exact same reason, to me, of course, Omega watches are luxury items. Although they're available in stores, the price is what makes them inaccessible and aspirational. I'd feel deeply uncomfortable saying Omega is not a luxury brand. Hey guys, Editing Brittany here. Now I feel like I should interject really quickly here. Of course, there's a difference between Patek Philippe price points and Omega. So your Omega entry level would be about £3,000-ish. So obviously Patek Philippe is far more inaccessible than Omega. I get it. But I still have a difficult time saying a £3,000 watch and up is not aspirational. That's me personally. And it also should be known, I feel like I'm gonna be in the minority. I read this script out to my husband and he agreed with Adrian, not me. So I'm also really worried people are going to think I'm starting a fight with Adrian or something, and I'm not. He started his video kind of saying it was to get a discussion going, and this would just be my contribution to the discussion and my viewpoint, because as I've stated before already, luxury definitions are vague, so our interpretations will be vast and different, and this is just what I've arrived at. I think accessibility is what starts separating collector's items, but not necessarily luxury items, if that makes sense. I said this wasn't going to be a response, but it's really starting to quickly feel like a response. Omega fanboys, I'm with you. Returning to our initial definition, whether it is lifestyle or products, it is vague and I would say subjective. When I was in university, having a meal at a sit-down restaurant was luxury. And now that I'm a bit older, a bit more financially recovered, I've been to fancy Michelin star restaurants now, and even the restaurants I've been to are not considered luxury by how crazy some of these things get. But even though I know there's greater luxury out there, it doesn't take away the joy and how much of a luxury it is for me to go to a nicer restaurant. This can't be right to say, and I know I'm going to get some pushback on this, but it's how I feel. That luxury is kind of relative to a point. This is especially on my mind right now, as it is Dubai Watch Week as I'm filming this. I'm seeing so many people out at the events, soaking it all in. But when I say I think maybe luxury is relative, what I mean is the Dubai definition of luxury is very different than the rural Canadian Brittany definition or idea of what luxury is. But even what I consider luxury now is different than what I used to, and it might change again as my financial situation changes. Hopefully improves. But I should say as well, the luxury aspect is one of the reasons I got into watches in the first place. My first nicer or luxury watch was the Cartier Tank. I remember the first time I held it and felt the build quality, opening the red Cartier box, and even just seeing the name Cartier. I owned something from Cartier. That floored me. Now, this is by no means the most luxurious Cartier product. It's quartz stainless steel and is one of the most affordable things you can buy from them. But for me, even still, this is a luxury product. This is still an insanely priced, well-built timepiece, and I'm immensely proud to own this. I think when we get too deep into the watch world, like I am, and we throw around words like Rolex and Omega all willy-nilly, I think we start to lose our minds a bit. We forget how aspirational and important these items are. Like, I know my idea of what is affordable and what is not is permanently skewed. When we live in this world of luxury items being so at the forefront of our mind, it's easy to forget how aspirational and amazing timepieces are. These little timekeepers are the intersection of art, history, fashion, and engineering. They're these analog devices that attempt to measure the fourth dimension, and they're actually unreasonably accurate, although never perfect. Forget about luxury. These are awe-inspiring machines, whether it's a Seiko, Orient, Tudor, Rolex, Vacheron, or a Roger Smith. But with that said, I need to do my best to remember that these are all just things. I was in an accident a few months ago. I got hit by a car. It was life-changing for me and the way I see the world and what matters and what doesn't. When I woke up in the hospital, I didn't give a crap about where my watch was. I probably should have. It was a Rolex. I probably should have cared more than I did then. But I didn't care. I didn't give a crap about getting home to my precious luxury items. I wanted to be around my family. I wanted my husband close. I wanted to call my mom and my sister and tell them I loved them. I wanted food and water and family. My life is so rich and so full. And I'll always love watches. I'll always be a watch collector. I've said it once and I'll say it again for the people at the back. It is insane to own an analog item that attempts to accurately measure the fourth dimension and actually does a pretty good job at it. But there are also times where I've gotten too caught up in the luxury side of things and what my watch says about me and my status in this world. I've walked into the AD before, secretly hoping in my heart that someone would notice my watch and really think I'm someone, which is so pathetic and lame to say. But it's an ugly side of me, and it's true. It's an ugly side of this whole luxury watch world that I just don't want to be a part of. If you can afford a mechanical watch, to me, you can afford a very luxurious, desirable, and unnecessary, but amazing item. I think I've spent this whole video almost answering nothing. Thank you to Adrian for making that initial video that really got my brain thinking, something that doesn't happen all that often for me. Thank you to Incogni for sponsoring this video. Click that link in my description to go check them out. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and let's thank the patrons. Alright, as always guys, we gotta take a minute to thank the gorgeous, fabulous, wonderful Pope tier patrons who keep the lights on here at Gringa HQ. Thank you so much for supporting my weird little channel. I hope you keep enjoying my content. This one was a little bit different for me, but patrons allow me to be able to be a bit more experimental with my videos and do things that are a little bit different without financially worrying too much. Thank you so much to our newest Pope tier patron, Ian F. You legend. Welcome to Gringa Patreon. And this is the best time on Gringa Patreon as well, because it's Christmas card season. So I'm about to send out a message to all the Pope tier patrons and get their addresses to send the yearly Christmas card. Anyways, thank you guys. Thank you, Ian, for being the newest Pope tier patron. Bye, guys.